Good morning.
Morning.
In November, I had the chance to take a trip of a lifetime and go back to Australia. In 2013, I studied abroad there, and a few months ago, I was able to return and visit some friends. In the city of Melbourne, a city comparable to Sydney, Australia, I went on a street art tour. And the city of Melbourne, their website touts that Melbourne is one of the great street art capitals of the world. And as you can see on this slide, Melbourne is in the lower part of Australia on the east coast. So for this street art tour, I usually just walk past street art, and I don't really give a lot of thought to it. And I didn't have very high expectations for this tour. I was expecting to see some art like this, and these are known as tags as well. The words or phrases written in a very distinct kind of street art form. But my expectations were blown, and I have a whole new perspective now on street art, and so that's what this speech is about, is to show you a little bit of what I've seen on this 4-hour walking tour of street art in Melbourne. And I think part of the reason that my perspective changed so much is because a street artist was my tour guide. So he was able to take me behind the scenes and give me different insights. And now I see that street art is a whole world unto itself. It's very easy to pass by, but it's a wonderful thing once you know a little bit of what's going on beyond. Here are some pictures that really just blow my mind of street art. So these are just on some alleys in Melbourne. So this picture that you see on the left, this is known as the indefinite milk crate. And look at the symmetry and the precision that just goes into this image that you just find on an alleyway in Melbourne. And also this image that you see on the right, that's not a neon sign, that's spray paint. So that is street art. So the skill that goes into this is just mind-boggling. And street art, the better your work, the longer it will stay up. But street art is very popular, and so on Hosier Lane, which is the most famous alley in Australia, your work that you finish, it can be covered up in a number of hours. But like I said, the better your work, the longer it will stay up. And you will see that the paint gets really, really thick on these alleys because of how much is going along. So in certain areas, the paint will actually cake up and just kind of start coming off. And I actually have a piece of the wall from Australia, so you can see the different layers of paint. So if you want to pass that around. Whoops, sorry. And my guide was saying, he's like, yep, this is the alley scabbing, so here's a piece of scab from the alley. So street art also has different messages that they're trying to convey. So this image that you see on the left is of Gina Rinehart. She is the wealthiest woman in Australia. And so the street artist combined her face with Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars. Jabba the Hutt is a gluttonous, kind of mobster kind of a character from Star Wars. So this artist is kind of putting her own spin on things. However, at the same time, you will also find a street artist memorializing important folks. So this lady on the right, Zaha Hadid, was a trailblazing female Iraqi architect who made big impacts in the field. And so you have folks' different perspectives and different portrayals of things. So you find that street art, yes, it's gritty and it's real, but there's meaning behind it and there's skill that goes into it. So let me tell you a story from the street art tour that I thought was really interesting. So this is a picture of AC/DC Lane. As you go through Melbourne, there's different alleys that my guide knew where to go. But this is AC/DC Lane. And along this lane, there is a very famous bar called the Cherry Bar. And different musicians, such as AC/DC, would go and visit this bar. And it was said that Lady Gaga went to visit the bar, and the folks were like, no, sorry, you can't come in, you're not really cool enough. And apparently the Cherry Bar has 3 rules, pardon my language. The first one, no douchebags. The second one, no thongs, which is the Australian word for flip-flops. And then the third one, no suits, refer to rule number 1. And so the Cherry Bar brought in a lot of folks, and they also bring in street artists, and they will hire the street artists to paint their alleyway, and so each year they'll have a theme. Now this alley does not get painted over. This one, they keep their theme for the entire year. And as you can see with this image, this year they were memorializing some deceased musicians such as Prince. Okay, so these are some more pictures of the Cherry Bar. And what ended up happening was a lot of folks started coming to this alley. And so the city was like, whoa, we're going to capitalize on this. Let's start building up the area. So they decided to build some apartments right at the end of the alley. The Cherry Bar tried to fight this, yet they lost. And so the apartments went up. And once the people moved into the apartments, they complained about the noise coming from the bar. Now they took it to court, and it ends up that the court found, all right, Cherry Bar, you need to soundproof yourself. And the Cherry Bar, it's a very costly process, but the Cherry Bar had enough supporters that they were able to finance soundproofing the bar and to continue existing. And so it's great. And so this lightning bolt is actually a bunch of little names, it's little plaques of folks that supported keeping the bar open. So this is an image that you will find at the end of the alley, because also as they were building it up, they put in a really fancy restaurant. And so the street artist made this image so that if you're in the restaurant and you're looking out, this is what you see. This is a giant pig representing consumerism. It's gluttonous, it's farting, and it has a crown. So street art, it is real and it is gritty, but there's a lot of skill and meaning that goes into it. And it's easy to walk past, but it's very impressive once you know what to look for. And you can go to Melbourne to see it, but you can also go to Kansas City and see it. And I hope that when you see street art, you give it a second glance. Thank you.